Hello, Karen. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Karen, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Karen, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, Karen, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. They say some couple of months back, yeah, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Karen, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Karen, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Karen. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a
Amazing.
love. I dare you, and
Amazing.
I was so excited that day, and I was really excited. Here's my point: the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Karen that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insights, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions, Karen. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Karen is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to look selfish and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Karen. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, Karen.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. And I have to say, one of the things you said is such an important part of what I do and what's important to me. And that is that you were attracted to this, right? And that is exactly the energy that I want people to understand it's available to them. So many people are
Mm,
out there just push, looking for business, looking for things. But there is a very gentle way to create an attraction marketing opportunity. And when you do, that's when the magic happens. That's when I get to meet beautiful people like you, right? When that magnet
mm,
starts to work. My clients know, they know, like I love to see that moment where they get an opportunity. I'm like, there it is. That's the magnet, right? So it's it can happen.
amazing.
If it can happen to
Yeah.
me, it can happen to anybody listening.
Yeah, beautiful, and that's so true. I got that. I got that. So let's get started, Karen. You see,
All
I
right.
am, yeah, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Karen, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, my amazing Karen, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Karen on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Karen, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of informations flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Karen, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, Karen, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your
Okay.
personal or your professional journey, because right now
Yeah.
we are so curious. We want to know how Karen got here. Then,
Yeah.
afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Karen,
Okay.
over
I'm
to
ready.
you.
Yes. So listen, I have been around longer than online marketing. My background is in tech, in the tech world, back when, phones were connected to walls, right? And I worked with businesses on phone systems. And um, what I learned that I didn't know that I was learning, by the way, at the time, what I learned that was that I was very often the only woman in the room in a tech world where we're designing data networks, right? So I had to learn how to shine a light. If I didn't open my mouth, I would have gotten completely shut down. So I had to portray confidence, even in a room that I wasn't all that confident in, right? I had to do that. So it's a talent that I didn't know I was learning at the time, um, but became second nature to me, right? To make sure that my voice was heard in the room. If I had an opinion on something, or if I had a piece of this, and I worked pretty hard at that, and was very successful. But times changed, my life changed. I got divorced. My kids were living with me, and I had to have a little bit more stable income. So I took a job. One of my clients hired me, and um, I did that for a lot of years. And while I had that paycheck job that was covering the health benefits and paying the mortgage and stuff, I started learning more and more about online marketing. And I've always been in sales and marketing. But I started to really learn that the playing field was now get kind of level, right? Like it wasn't when my kids were little. Like I didn't have the ability to compete with Apple on their same playing field, right? We couldn't both have Facebook pages, right? Which is what we have now. But now we can, right? So I started to learn online marketing and I started to mess with it a little bit, but I found myself always bringing people over to LinkedIn because I knew that what always worked for me and what my expertise was in was relationship marketing. Who are the people I needed to know to help me further my goals? Who could help me sign the contracts, that could help me land the deals, that could help me create the deals, that could partner with me on a deal, right? It really, my success wasn't just about me. It was about the people that I was surrounded with. So and on LinkedIn, it's really where you shine a light on yourself, kind of like I had to do without even knowing I was doing it all those tech years, right? So I started to shift my business more to helping people with LinkedIn. And I very quickly realized that women were not using LinkedIn as much as they should be. Men were using it. It was real corporate, but, and the more I kind of niche down into really helping women create, market, and sell on LinkedIn, the more I was getting asked to speak all over the world about it, that my podcast became a thing, and it really kind of took off from there. And of course, as an entrepreneur, there was no like direct ladder to success, right? I had some ups and some downs and some roller coaster years. And in part of those roller coaster years, I had a partnership with a friend who had a PR company. And I understood the power of PR because as you're talking about people, you mentioned people that are kind of shifting, right? Like that are changing into their next chapter. They want it to look different than their last chapter. What I find is that often women primarily, but people, they think they're starting all over, but they're not. They're starting from experience. They're not starting from scratch, right? They've got all this experience they're bringing into this moment, but they don't have references and testimonials and things with this new title because they have not done it in this format before. So the publicity, the PR opportunities builds in that credibility while they are building that new chapter. So when I talk about a LinkedIn strategy, the strategy isn't just to surround yourself with people that can buy your stuff or people that can partner with you. It's also who are the people talking about what you do and building relationships with the journalists and the podcast hosts so that you've got this well-rounded network that you're able to pull from and lean into to help you take your life to new levels of success, and everybody's kind of doing it with you. It's kind of like lifting each other up, right? So that's kind of where I'm at now. I run a business that focuses primarily on helping people use LinkedIn and PR to create their brand as they're stepping into their next chapter. And it's important to say on LinkedIn, we're not like, if you make the best pens in the world, you're not going to use LinkedIn to sell a pen, but you can use LinkedIn to get a distributor that wants to buy 100,000 of your pens, right? So you really,
Uh,
in this strategy that I'm talking about here, we're kind of flipping the funnel. We're talking about the big opportunities, right? So think about this. If you're stepping into a next chapter and, let's say you're a yoga teacher and you're thinking you're going to have to sell $15 classes, I'm telling you, well, what if you had a $5,000 private, retreat for somebody, right? Like, create the higher ticket things. You're qualified to deliver them. And then let's make some money so that we can pay people to help us step into this next chapter more comfortably.
that's a powerful strategy, and you're spitting out facts that I never thought about. It's a beautiful stuff. Thank you for sharing that, Karen. So I want us to begin the question from this aspect of women and LinkedIn. So how
hmm
can women over 40 own the spotlight on LinkedIn?
You know, LinkedIn, when we talk about things like a LinkedIn algorithm, it changes daily, right? So we can't really predict or make declarations about what happens with the LinkedIn algorithm. But what has stayed consistent is that LinkedIn rewards people that they know, like, and trust. So create a lane for yourself on LinkedIn. What is it that you want to be known for? And stay in that lane, right? Be known for that. Create content around that. Jump into conversations around those topics. Yes, many of us are multi passionate, and I'm not suggesting you're not multi passionate, but on LinkedIn, let's try and stay really consistent with what our zone of brilliance is, so that we're training LinkedIn to know when to show people our content, so that people know what they can call on us for. Like I mentioned earlier, when I first started doing online marketing, people would need a speaker for a conference, and they're like, they'd throw my name in with 200 other people if they needed a social media speaker. But if it was a conference where they needed a speaker, a LinkedIn speaker, now 200 people say, call Karen, right? So really get clear
Mm,
on what your niche is, and own that niche on LinkedIn. Own it. And the more unique and freaky and, whacked out your niche is, the more money you're going to make. It's just a fact. It seems counterintuitive that I'm telling you to go narrower, not wider, to make more money, but it is a fact. It happens that way. So train LinkedIn to know what is your zone of brilliance.
mm, mm. Training LinkedIn to know what your zone of brilliance is. I got that. So why do you prioritize LinkedIn over Instagram or TikTok?
Because I like money and clients are on LinkedIn. Listen, I am not the person to talk to about Instagram or TikTok strategy. I know there's people that make that work really well, and we use it, right? I use those platforms to promote my podcast, but my clients come from LinkedIn. We've heard, my whole life I've heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know, or you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. LinkedIn is where all that happens, right? If you ask 10 people, where did their biggest opportunity come from? 9 of them are going to tell you a referral. All that stuff happens on LinkedIn. So I'm not saying don't use those other platforms. I'm saying build your LinkedIn strategy first, because that's where the business is happening. That's where the money is. That's where, people are recommending other people, and it makes it easier. And again, done properly, it becomes magnetic. I'm never, ever going to want you to be one of those people that are messaging 200 people a day saying, buy my stuff. Never. I don't ever want you to have to say that. I want people coming to you saying, I want to buy your stuff, right? And done properly, that happens on LinkedIn.
I got that. So you used the word magnetic. So what
hmm
does magnetic positioning really mean?
Yeah. So if somebody that's listening to this show right now met me on the street last week and said, what do you do? And I said, I do LinkedIn marketing. They'd be like, okay, that's good, but I have absolutely no credibility. But because they're hearing me on this show, I get to borrow your credibility. You're saying, "Hey, listen to Karen," right? So that is kind of what makes it magnetic, because now, like, I'm using LinkedIn to build relationships with people like you so that you can introduce me to your audience and vice versa, because I'll share this with my audience, right? So it's a massive, just positive win-win kind of thing, kind of relationship. And and it those I'd much rather have more conversations with people like you that we can collaborate to reach each other's audiences, which brings people to you as opposed to spamming my network. Does that make sense? So to me, that's the
Yeah.
magnetic energy that I like to bring, whether it's JV partners or swapping email opportunities or, introducing people on a LinkedIn Live, right? Like creating, you know, collaborations generally will help make your world magnetic. And you know what? Sometimes what just makes it magnetic is instead of thinking about your LinkedIn strategy as what do I need to post today? What should I be saying? How do I what do I share? What do I post? How do I get more eyes on my post? Shift that energy to what conversations can I jump into today, right? Stick into that zone of brilliance. I got a message today from somebody on LinkedIn that said, "Hey, I saw your post. I saw your comment on that post and I wanted to connect with you because I really like what you're doing." Right?
Mm,
That's magnetic. I did not pitch. I jumped into a conversation somebody else started with my point of view. Somebody else appreciated that and now connected with me. That's magnetic marketing, right? And it,
mm.
it it happens in this way that's just fun as opposed to like stressful and overwhelming.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. I experienced that too. I can
Yeah,
relate to
right.
that. That's amazing.
But yet we feel like we have to do the work. How many posts
Mm,
do I have to put out? How do I get more eyes on my post? Do I need to boost a post? None of that is as important as just genuine relationship building.
beautiful. So what about women who feels like they are overlooked? What would you like to say to them?
You know, build your own army. Like don't we're all overlooked. Like when women are overlooked often, right? So we can whine about that or we can just find our own space. Most of the women that I talk to are not looking to attract 10,000 people, right? We might have big goals. Like we might have a mission that we want to reach 10,000 people. Like I'd like my podcast to reach many, many people, right? But my business doesn't really need that many people. So really just focus on your tribe. Focus on, again, your niche. Don't worry about the people that are ignoring you. Just kind of create your own journey to the bank. Not worrying about what isn't working and focus on what is working. We look for in our She's Linked Up programs, we look for like the signals, right? Like that email, that connection request I got from that post is a signal. These are the signals that tell me that my strategy is working, right? I'm not looking to see how many views I got on a post. I'm looking to see how many signals I got this week. People that connected with me because they saw me on a post or people that shared something or saved something that I shared, right? So to me, that's what's important to me. And that is a much tinier number than how many views you got and all that stuff. So the numbers don't have to be big. You just have to focus on where your people are and just stay there and don't worry about the rest.
Focus on where your people are and just stay there and don't worry about the rest. I got that. Beautiful words. So let us talk about your podcast briefly. What inspired you to get started in podcasting? And how long now? And how's the journey been?
You know, I love podcasting. I love podcasting because I've just met so many amazing people and it's been great. And here's the thing, for me, I understood the value as a lifelong marketer. I understood the value of content and I was creating blog posts every week, but I really wasn't even writing the blogs. I was paying people to help me write the blogs and it just didn't really feel like me. And, I am a like Jersey girl through and through. I like to talk. I'm like, maybe I need to just bring my voice to this. So it took me forever to take the leap because I got caught up in what am I going to call it? What do I do? What's the message? Like I spent way too much time there. But finally launched. In fact, I was a speaker at a podcast conference when my first episode hadn't even gone live yet. And that podcast conference kind of like motivated me to get the episode live. And now we're like, I think we just recorded episode 335 or something. So we've got a lot of episodes out there, a lot of content out there. The podcast has evolved over the years, right? We had, I've talked about different things over the years. We've had a lot of great, amazing guests. I've done a lot of solo shows. Um, And we're going to keep doing it because I think, if I come across somebody that I am interested in working with or learning from, the first thing I do is look for their podcast. And if they don't have one, I'm like, well, how do I know if I like them? Right. So to me, I feel like for me as an entrepreneur, having a podcast allows people to experiment, or to experience my energy and to see if they feel aligned to it or not. And if they don't, even better, like, like I'm cool with that because I want that alignment more than I want a client, right? So I think it gives me a chance to really connect on a deeper level with people that might not have known of me otherwise.
How can that be possible?
Yeah. So my podcast is called Good Girls Get Rich. You can get it on wherever you get your podcasts. And connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love that. Let me know you heard me on this show. Share this show. Tag us both on your posts so that, again, that's how that magnetism works, right? Because if you share it, I can comment on it and then my audience gets to see your name, right? So, so it's how we all start to strengthen our magnets, right? And if you want a little taste as to what it's like to understand the power of using PR for credibility as you're building a LinkedIn strategy, we've got a great free checklist at linkedinforpr.com, FOR, linkedinforpr.com gets you to that checklist. At the time that we're recording this, for some reason, the only way to get to it is if you do HTTP, not HTTPS. So we're working on that. But if it doesn't come up with that, just put the HTTP in front of it and it will. Obviously, that needs to be fixed, and hopefully it will be by the time this is live. If not, throw the HTTP in front of it. The life of an entrepreneur, right? But it's a great checklist because even if you just take one or two little tips from it, it's a lot. So if you take one or two little tips from it, I think you're going to find that you'll get to start to strengthen that magnet.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Karen. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you.